Hello Chipmunk and Chipette fans, and welcome to another Alvin and the Chipmunks elaboration video. My name is Grandy Tamias, and today's subject will be, why does Ian Hawke share a lot of traits with Uncle Harry? For those unfamiliar with one or both of these characters, this video will contain spoilers for the first live-action Alvin and the Chipmunks film from 2007, as well as the 80s Alvin and the Chipmunks series episode, Uncle Harry. Later on in the video, I will also talk about another character that shares this phenomenon, but I decided to title this video after Ian Hawke and Harry because they are perhaps the biggest example of this. Harry was a reoccurring Chipmunk character from seasons 1 through 3 of the 80s series, and was only present in 4 episodes. He was introduced in the episode bearing his name, working at a carnival. In order to pay back a debt to a strong man named Luke, he planned to use the Chipmunk Band so he can make that money. He tricks Alvin, Simon, and Theodore into thinking that he is their uncle, and takes them on a very busy concert tour. He makes them sing to the point of exhaustion, and lies to them that he would plan to use the money so they can visit their mother. Eventually, the boys do find out about Harry's plan, and pull a trick of their own to send him on a wild goose chase to Nome, Alaska. Ian Hawke, played by actor David Cross, is introduced as the primary antagonist of the 2007 live-action Chipmunk film. He was a high-ranking official at Jet Records who initially rejected David Seville's songwriting, but after the Chipmunks visited his mansion to sing for him, he saw their potential as superstars. This followed after a failed attempt by Dave to get them to sing for Ian at Jet Records, due to them having stage fright. Shortly after the Chipmunks became famous, they had a lengthy dispute with Dave, which led to them to want to live with Ian. Once moved in, Ian let them call him their uncle, and lived spoiled without rules for months. Besides not caring about the Chipmunks enough to be at their emotional aid, Ian also took advantage of them by having them perform at sold-out concerts across the nation. As a result, their throats became sore from excessive singing, and Dave came to their rescue at a concert in Los Angeles at the end of the film, prompting the Chipmunks to crash the event and escape. They even left talking plush decoys of themselves to trick Ian as he was driving away, and ultimately he lost. Ian later appeared in The Squeakquel and Shipwrecked, but his role in each of those will have to be touched upon in a later video. Now that I have established who both of these characters are, you might have noticed some similarities already. Both Harry and Ian pretended to be an uncle figure to Alvin, Simon, and Theodore, and took them on concert tour for extended periods of time away from Dave. They also didn't care about them on a personal level, and were only interested in making money off of their singing talent. And they were tricked in some capacity by the Chipmunks by the end of their first outings. Other than their backstories, the only major difference between Harry and Ian is that one is a chipmunk and the other was a human. Essentially, they are the same exact character in the same exact role. Because Ian Hawke was the first of the two to be introduced in live-action film continuity, Harry more than likely doesn't exist in that universe. Despite then rumors claiming that Harry would appear in any of the 3 sequels, that obviously never came into fruition. From a story standpoint, it wouldn't make sense to have Harry if he was going to do the same exact thing that Ian Hawke did, and that the Chipmunks resolved. At least if they were keeping Harry absolutely true to the cartoon series. As I mentioned a moment ago, the big difference between both characters is their species. So if Ian has the same role and personality as Harry, why didn't the filmmakers just use Harry in the movie instead? As I talked about in my Why Are There No Other Chipmunk Characters video, the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise in the 21st century has opted not to include any other talking chipmunks besides the main 6 chipmunks and chipettes. So certain roles that were once filled by chipmunks are now being replaced by humans. This isn't limited to only former chipmunk roles, however. In Alvin and the Chipmunks' The Road Chip, Miss Price, played by actress Jennifer Coolidge, has a lot of similar characteristics to Miss Miller from the 80s era. In fact, Price's role is a direct homage to Miss Miller's role in the Chipmunk Adventure. Both characters were old women who were tasked with keeping tabs on Alvin, Simon, and Theodore while Dave was away. They both end up being tricked so that the Chipmunks can leave because one of their 5 senses was faulty. Miss Price's was sight, and Miss Miller's was hearing. Now, I hate to let down a lot of fans who want to see Brittany, Jeanette, and Eleanor get adopted in the live-action films, much like the Chipmunks did in Road Chip, but if Miss Price continued to follow in Miss Miller's tradition, the Chipettes' last name would be Price in that universe. With Miss Price established in the live-action film continuity, there just isn't any room for a faithful adaptation of Miss Miller. And in my opinion, Brittany Price doesn't have the same ring to it as Brittany Miller, so I'm glad that didn't happen in the movie. Feel free to let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Would you rather have seen Harry and Miss Miller in the movies instead? Do you think there would have been room for them as separate characters from Ian and Miss Price? And which character out of each of those 2 examples do you like better? Don't forget that you're also welcome to like and subscribe, and with that said, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and have a nice day.